She thought she landed her dream job, until she found out her boss was her billionaire ex who left her pregnant at the altar. "I have a daughter," Sophia said abruptly, watching his face for a reaction. "She's 4 years old." Lucas's expression remained carefully controlled, though something flickered in his eyes. "I know." The air between them crackled with tension as Sophia's world tilted on its axis. "You know?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You've known all this time?" "Yes." His admission hung in the cavernous office like a physical presence. "And yet you did nothing. For 4 years you did nothing." Her voice trembled with 5 years of suppressed rage and heartbreak. "What kind of man discovers he has a child and stays away? The kind who was told in no uncertain terms that he wasn't wanted in your life," Lucas replied, his composed facade finally cracking. "The kind who thought he was doing what you wanted. Have you ever wondered what it would take to face the person who shattered your heart into 1,000 pieces? What would you do if the person who abandoned you at your most vulnerable suddenly held your financial future in their hands?" Today's story explores the impossible situation of a woman forced to work for the man who left her pregnant at the altar, and the shocking truth behind why he disappeared in the first place. If you believe in the power of second chances, even when they seem impossible, give this video a like and subscribe to Timeless Love Tales with Mr. Harrison for more stories that will touch your heart and remind you that sometimes the most painful chapters of our lives aren't the end of our story. I'm Mr. Harrison, and today I'm sharing the remarkable journey of Sophia Maxwell, a talented creative director and devoted single mother whose life is turned upside down when her mysterious new job opportunity reveals a past she thought she'd left behind. The morning Sophia Maxwell received the job offer from Meridian Innovations, she'd been sitting on her worn couch, surrounded by past due bills and rejection letters. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the aging refrigerator and the occasional drip from the leaky bathroom faucet she couldn't afford to fix. The email had appeared like a lighthouse beam cutting through fog. Unexpected, brilliant, and promising safe harbor. "We're pleased to offer you the position of creative director," it read. The salary figure that followed contained more zeros than she'd seen in her bank account in years. Sophia's hands trembled as she read the message twice, then a third time. After 18 months of struggle, of piecing together freelance work while raising her daughter alone, of explaining to 4-year-old Ava why they couldn't afford dance classes or new shoes, the universe had finally thrown her a lifeline. "We got it, baby girl," she whispered, though Ava was at preschool. "We finally got our break." She hadn't applied to Meridian Innovations. That was the curious thing. The email mentioned being impressed by her portfolio, but Sophia couldn't recall submitting one. Still, the company was legitimate, a rising star in digital media with offices in the gleaming downtown tower. Perhaps a colleague had recommended her work. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. Just that morning, her landlord had slipped a final notice under her door, its threatening language barely concealed beneath formal terminology. 60 days behind on rent, with her savings depleted and credit cards maxed out. Sophia closed her eyes, allowing herself to imagine what this job would mean. Financial security, a proper home for Ava, maybe even the beginning of a college fund. No more lying awake calculating which bill could be postponed another month. No more quiet tears in the shower where Ava couldn't hear. She replied immediately, accepting the position and the invitation to start the following Monday. It wasn't until she'd hit send that a flutter of unease rippled through her chest. The email hadn't mentioned who she'd be reporting to. In fact, it contained surprisingly few details about the role itself, just the impressive title and even more impressive compensation. But beggars couldn't be choosers, and Sophia Maxwell had been begging the universe for a miracle for too long to question its arrival. That evening, as she tucked Ava into bed, the little girl's eyes shone with excitement at the news of her mother's new job. "Does this mean we can stay in our apartment?" Ava asked, her small face serious beyond her years. No 4-year-old should understand eviction notices, Sophia thought with a pang. "Yes, sweetheart. And maybe we can even look for a better place soon. One with a park nearby. And I can take dance classes like Emma?" Hope filled Ava's voice, making Sophia's heart ache. Emma was Ava's best friend from preschool, whose parents could afford the luxuries Sophia had been forced to deny her daughter. "We'll see about those dance classes very soon," Sophia promised, smoothing Ava's dark curls away from her forehead. Hair just like her father's, though Sophia tried not to think about that. "Now, what story would you like tonight?" "The Princess one," Ava said immediately. "Where she saves herself." Sophia smiled. She'd always been careful to read Ava's stories with strong female characters who didn't need rescuing. Good choice. Later, after Ava had fallen asleep, Sophia sat at their small kitchen table with a cup of tea, scrolling through what information she could find about Meridian Innovations. The company had been founded 3 years ago and had quickly established itself as an innovative force in digital marketing and content creation. Their client list was impressive, their growth trajectory even more so. What she couldn't find, oddly, was much information about the company's leadership. The website mentioned a visionary founder, but no name or photo. The executive team was similarly vague, with titles but no personal details. A chill ran down Sophia's spine. Was she being paranoid? Or was there something deliberately obscured here? But what company would offer such a generous salary and position to someone they intended to harm? It made no sense. Pushing aside her unease, Sophia began planning for Monday. She would need something professional to wear, something that projected confidence and competence, despite her years away from corporate life. Her savings were non-existent, but she had a credit card with just enough available credit for one decent outfit. The weekend passed in a blur of preparation. Sophia arranged for her neighbor, Mrs. Chun, to watch Ava after preschool until she could assess her new work schedule. She spent Saturday scouring clearance racks for affordable professional attire, eventually finding a navy blazer and matching pants that, while slightly dated, fit well enough. Sunday was devoted to reviewing current trends in digital marketing, refreshing her knowledge after months of taking whatever freelance work would pay the bills, regardless of whether it utilized her creative talents. By Monday morning, Sophia was as ready as she could be, a mixture of excitement and anxiety churning in her stomach as she dropped Ava at preschool. "You look pretty, Mommy," Ava said, reaching up to touch the simple silver necklace Sophia wore, a gift from her grandmother years ago. "Like a boss lady." Sophia knelt down, bringing herself to eye level with her daughter. "Thank you, sweetheart. I am a boss lady today, and I'm doing it all for you. Will you be home for dinner?" Ava asked, her small face suddenly concerned. "Absolutely. Mrs. Chun will pick you up from school, but I'll be home for dinner and bedtime. I promise." With a final hug and kiss, Sophia watched Ava join her classmates, then turned toward the gleaming tower that housed Meridian Innovations. Her future, their future. The Meridian Innovations lobby was all steel and glass, with a sweeping view of the city skyline. Sophia adjusted her thrift store blazer, suddenly conscious of its frayed cuffs and slightly dated cut. Around her, employees moved with purpose, dressed in clothes that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Ms. Maxwell, polished receptionist, approached. "Welcome to Meridian. I'm Vanessa. I'll show you to your office." "My office." The words sent a thrill through her. Not a cubicle or shared workspace, but her own office. They passed through open-concept workspaces where young professionals huddled around sleek monitors. Vanessa offered a running commentary about the company's rapid growth and innovative culture. "We've expanded 3 times in the past year," she explained. "The creative department you'll be heading was just established last quarter. It's a priority for the CEO." "And who is the CEO?" Sophia asked, realizing she should have researched more thoroughly before arriving. "I'm afraid I didn't catch the name in my offer letter." Vanessa gave her an odd look. "That would be Mr. Richard. Lucas Richard." The name hit Sophia like a physical blow, stopping her mid-stride. The polished marble floor seemed to tilt beneath her feet. Lucas Richard. 5 years ago, she'd been 20 minutes from marrying Lucas Richard when his best man had delivered the message. "He's not coming. He says he's sorry." 5 years ago, she'd stood in a wedding dress before 200 guests, her heart shattering as whispers rippled through the church. 5 years ago, she'd discovered 3 weeks after being abandoned at the altar that she was carrying his child. "Ms. Maxwell, are you all right?" Vanessa's concerned voice pulled her back to the present. I'm fine, Sophia managed, though her voice sounded distant to her own ears, just a bit overwhelmed. It's a beautiful office. Mr. Richard specifically requested this space for the new creative director. He said the natural light would be important for someone with your aesthetic sensibilities. He knew. The realization crystallized with absolute clarity. Lucas had known exactly who he was hiring. Before Sophia could process this further, Vanessa's phone chimed. She glanced at it and smiled apologetically. Mr. Richard would like to welcome you personally. He's asked if you could join him in his office now. Panic flared in Sophia's chest. She wasn't ready for this confrontation. Not now, not here, not on her first day when everything hung in the balance. But what choice did she have? She couldn't flee, not when Ava's preschool tuition was due and eviction loomed. Of course, she heard herself say. Lead the way. As they walked toward the executive suite, Sophia's mind raced through possibilities. Perhaps it wasn't her Lucas. Perhaps it was a coincidence, a different man with the same name. But she knew better. The universe wasn't that kind. The double doors to the CEO's office loomed ahead, sleek and imposing. Vanessa knocked once before opening them. Ms. Maxwell is here, Mr. Richard. Thank you, Vanessa. Please send in coffee for two. That voice, deep, resonant, with the slight rasp that had once whispered promises against her skin. Sophia steeled herself and stepped into the office. Lucas Richard stood by floor-to-ceiling windows, his back to the door, silhouetted against the morning light. He'd always had a flair for dramatic positioning. The years had been kind to him. His shoulders broader beneath his impeccable suit, his dark hair now threaded with distinguished silver at the temples. When he turned, his eyes, those piercing blue eyes that had once looked at her with such intensity, revealed nothing. Sophia, he said simply, welcome to Meridian. She remained by the door, unwilling to step further into his domain. This was deliberate, wasn't it? The job offer. A slight smile curved his lips. Direct as always. Yes, it was deliberate. I've been following your work for some time. You're exactly what Meridian needs. What Meridian needs? She repeated flatly. And what about what I need, Lucas? Did that ever cross your mind? 5 years ago or now? He gestured to a seating area, 2 leather chairs positioned around a glass coffee table. Please sit. I think we have quite a bit to discuss. I'd rather stand. As you wish. He moved to his desk, leaning against it casually. You're angry. You have every right to be. Angry doesn't begin to cover it. Sophia's voice remained steady, though her heart hammered against her ribs. You left me at the altar without explanation, disappeared completely, and now you've manipulated me into working for you? What kind of game is this? No game, Sophia. A second chance, perhaps. A second chance? She laughed, the sound brittle in the cavernous office. For whom, exactly? Because I've spent 5 years rebuilding my life after you shattered it. I don't need a second chance from you. If you've ever had to face someone who broke your trust in the most devastating way, hit that like button right now. And if you're wondering how Sophia will handle this impossible situation, stay with me as this remarkable story unfolds. Lucas's expression shifted, something vulnerable flickering across his features before disappearing behind his composed mask. The job offer is legitimate. Your talent is undeniable, and Meridian needs someone with your vision. Your employment here has nothing to do with our past. Everything about this has to do with our past, Sophia countered. You deliberately sought me out, offered me a position I desperately need, knowing I couldn't refuse. That's manipulation, not opportunity. A knock at the door interrupted them as Vanessa entered with a coffee tray. The momentary pause gave Sophia time to collect herself, to remember what was at stake. She couldn't afford righteous indignation, not when Ava's future hung in the balance. When they were alone again, Lucas spoke more softly. I understand your suspicion, but the offer is genuine, the salary commensurate with your abilities, and your role here is secure regardless of our personal history. Our personal history, Sophia echoed. Is that what we're calling it now? What would you prefer to call it? I'd prefer not to call it anything. I'd prefer to do my job without having to see you, speak to you, or think about you. Lucas nodded slowly. That can be arranged. We have different departments, different floors. Our interaction can be minimal. Sophia studied him, searching for the catch, the hidden agenda. Why now, Lucas? After 5 years of silence. Why bring me into your world? He hesitated, and for a moment, Sophia glimpsed the man she'd once loved. Uncertain, vulnerable, human beneath the polished exterior. Because I made a mistake, he said finally. The biggest mistake of my life. And while I can't undo it, I can at least ensure that you have the opportunities you deserve. The opportunities one deserve, she repeated, a bitter taste filling her mouth. Lucas flinched visibly. Yes, they were. The simple acknowledgement caught her off guard. She'd expected denials, justifications, the smooth evasions he'd always been skilled at deploying. I have a daughter, she said abruptly, watching his face for a reaction. She's 4 years old. If she'd expected shock, she was disappointed. Lucas's expression remained carefully controlled, though something flickered in his eyes. I know. Of course he knew. He probably knew everything. Where they lived, Ava's preschool, the desperate state of their finances. The thought made her skin crawl. She has nothing to do with this, Sophia said firmly. With you, with Meridian, with any of it. She's mine, and she stays separate from whatever this is. Understood. Lucas straightened, professional mask sliding back into place. As I said, the position is yours regardless of our past. Your office is ready, your team eager to meet you. If you choose to stay, we can maintain a strictly professional relationship. And if I choose to leave, then you'll receive a generous severance package and excellent references. He met her gaze directly. I won't hold you hostage, Sophia. The choice is yours. The choice. As if she had one, with eviction notices and mounting debts. As if she could walk away from financial security for her daughter. Lucas knew that. He'd orchestrated this entire situation knowing exactly what position she was in. I'll stay, she said finally. For now. But we establish boundaries immediately. We interact only when absolutely necessary for business. You stay away from me, and you stay far away from my daughter. Agreed. He nodded once, decisively. Vanessa will show you back to your office and introduce you to your team. I've scheduled a department meeting for 11 to formally announce your position. Just like that, they were back to business. The whiplash between personal and professional left Sophia disoriented, but she maintained her composure as she turned to leave. Sophia, Lucas called as her hand touched the door handle. She paused without turning. For what it's worth, I am sorry. More than you can possibly know. She closed her eyes briefly, fighting the surge of emotions his words triggered. Sorry doesn't pay the bills, Lucas. But this job will. That's all that matters now. As she walked back through the gleaming hallways toward her new office, Sophia's mind raced with contradictions. The man who had destroyed her life had just handed her a lifeline. The father who had never known his daughter had been watching from afar. The past she'd fought to escape had just become inextricably linked to her future. One thing was certain. Nothing about this arrangement would be simple. But for Ava's sake, she would navigate these treacherous waters. She would take Lucas Richards' money, his opportunity, his second chance. Not for him, but for the daughter he'd never met. And she would guard her heart with everything she had, because she knew better than anyone the destruction Lucas could leave in his wake. The department meeting went better than Sophia could have hoped. Lucas was professional and distant, introducing her as one of the most innovative creative directors in the industry, before stepping back to let her take center stage. Her new team, 6 talented designers, copywriters, and digital strategists, seemed genuinely excited to have her leadership. By the end of her first day, Sophia had almost convinced herself this arrangement might work. She could excel professionally while keeping Lucas at arm's length. She could provide for Ava without compromising her dignity or reopening old wounds. Then she found the photograph on her desk. It was tucked inside a welcome packet, between information about benefits and company policies. A small, candid shot of Ava at the park near their apartment, laughing as she came down a slide. Sophia's blood ran cold. She flipped the photo over. Written in Lucas's distinctive handwriting were 3 words. "She's beautiful, Sophia." The violation hit her like a physical blow. He had been watching them, following them, documenting her daughter's life from the shadows. She stormed through the now quiet office, most employees having left for the day. Without knocking, she pushed open the door to Lucas's office. He was on the phone but immediately ended the call when he saw her expression. "You've been spying on us?" Sophia slammed the photo down on his desk. "Following my daughter? Taking pictures of her without my knowledge or consent?" Lucas remained calm, which only fueled her anger. "I wanted to know she was okay. She's not your concern. You gave up any right to her when you disappeared." "I didn't know you were pregnant when I left," Lucas said quietly. "Would it have made a difference?" Sophia challenged. "Would you have stayed?" The question hung between them, heavy with 5 years of unspoken pain. "I don't know," he admitted finally. "I wasn't in a good place then. And I was? Left humiliated in front of everyone I knew, abandoned without explanation, and then discovering I was carrying your child? You think your place was worse than mine?" Lucas stood, coming around the desk but stopping when Sophia took a step back. "No. What I did to you was unforgivable. I know that. Then why bring me here? Why force us back into your life?" "Because I've changed," he said simply. "Because I want to make amends. Because I've spent 5 years regretting the biggest mistake of my life." Sophia shook her head, unwilling to be swayed by words that came 5 years too late. "I don't need your amends. I need a job. I need financial security for my daughter. That's all this is." "Of course." Lucas's expression closed off again, the brief glimpse of vulnerability gone. "It won't happen again. The photograph was inappropriate. I apologize." Sophia took the photo and turned to leave, but paused at the door. "How long have you known about her?" 3 years, Lucas admitted. "I saw you with her at Riverside Park. She was learning to walk." The image of Ava's first tentative steps, her chubby hands gripping Sophia's fingers, her face alight with determination and joy, was one of Sophia's most precious memories. The thought of Lucas witnessing that moment from afar, a secret observer to a milestone he had no right to share, made her chest ache with renewed anger. "Stay away from her," Sophia repeated, "or this arrangement ends immediately, regardless of the consequences." She didn't wait for his response. That night, after tucking Ava into bed, Sophia sat on her worn couch with a glass of wine, trying to process the day's revelations. Lucas had known about Ava for 3 years, had been watching them, following their lives from a distance. Why? What could he possibly want after all this time? The Lucas she had known or thought she had known had been ambitious but kind, driven but considerate. The man who could abandon his bride at the altar without explanation seemed like a stranger. And now this new Lucas, powerful and successful, claiming regret and seeking amends, was equally unfathomable. Her phone chimed with a text message. "Unknown number. I meant what I said. The job is yours regardless of our past. I won't contact you outside of necessary work communication. I won't approach Ava. You have my word. LR." Sophia stared at the message, unsure how to respond or whether to respond at all. His word. What was that worth? Coming from a man who had broken every promise he'd ever made to her. She deleted the message without replying. The next few weeks established a tense but workable routine. Sophia threw herself into her role, quickly earning the respect of her team with her creative vision and collaborative leadership style. Lucas kept his distance, their interactions limited to necessary meetings where he was unfailingly professional. Financially, the change in their circumstances was immediate and profound. Sophia paid off her overdue rent and began looking for a better apartment. She enrolled Ava in the dance classes she'd been begging for. She started a college fund with her first bonus check. For the first time in years, She could breathe without the constant weight of financial anxiety pressing on her chest. She could plan for the future rather than merely surviving the present. But emotionally, the cost was high. Each day she walked into Meridian's gleaming offices was a reminder of what Lucas had taken from her, and what he could still take if she let down her guard. Each night, looking at Ava's sleeping face, she wondered what right she had to keep father and daughter apart, regardless of Lucas's past sins. The question became unavoidable one evening when Ava, coloring at the kitchen table while Sophia prepared dinner, asked the question Sophia had been dreading for years. "Mommy, why don't I have a daddy like Emma does?" Sophia's hand stilled on the knife she was using to chop vegetables. She had prepared for this moment, rehearsed answers that were age-appropriate yet honest. But now, with Lucas back in their orbit, those carefully crafted explanations felt inadequate. "You do have a daddy," she said carefully, setting down the knife and joining Ava at the table. "He just doesn't live with us." "Where does he live? Why doesn't he visit me like Emma's daddy visits her when he's not at their house?" How could she explain abandonment to a 4-year-old? How could she tell Ava that her father had chosen to leave before even knowing she existed? "Sometimes grown-ups make complicated choices," Sophia said finally. "Your daddy and I loved each other once, but things didn't work out between us." "Is he dead?" Ava asked with the blunt curiosity of childhood. "No, sweetheart, he's not dead." "Then why doesn't he want to see me? Is it because I'm not good enough?" The question broke Sophia's heart. "No, Ava. Never think that. You are perfect exactly as you are. This has nothing to do with you and everything to do with grown-up problems between your daddy and me." Ava seemed to consider this, her small brow furrowed in concentration. "Does he know about me?" The question Sophia had been dreading most. She had always promised herself she would never lie to Ava, even when the truth was difficult. "Yes, he knows about you. And he still doesn't want to see me?" Ava's lower lip trembled. "It's complicated, sweetheart." Sophia pulled her daughter into her lap, holding her close. "But I want you to know that you are loved so much. By me, by Grandma and Grandpa, by your aunts and uncles. You have so many people who adore you." "But not my daddy," Ava said quietly, a statement rather than a question. Sophia closed her eyes, feeling the weight of 5 years of choices, hers and Lucas's, settling on her shoulders. What right did she have to keep Ava from her father when he clearly knew about her? What right did Lucas have to suddenly decide he wanted involvement after years of absence? "Let's finish dinner," she said finally. "And maybe this weekend we can talk more about your daddy. Okay?" Ava nodded, seemingly satisfied for the moment. But Sophia knew the conversation was far from over. The seed had been planted, and Ava's curiosity would only grow. That night, after Ava was asleep, Sophia made a decision. She would confront Lucas one more time, demand the full truth about why he had left and why he had returned. Only then could she make an informed choice about whether to allow him into Ava's life. The opportunity came sooner than expected. The next morning, Sophia received an email requesting her presence at an executive strategy meeting. Lucas would be there along with the heads of other departments. Professional, proper, unavoidable. The meeting itself was straightforward, a discussion of Meridian's growth strategy and upcoming client pitches. Sophia presented her department's creative direction confidently, earning approving nods from the other executives. Lucas remained professional but distant, his eyes meeting hers only when necessary. As the meeting concluded and people began filing out, Lucas caught her eye. "Ms. Maxwell, could you stay for a moment? I'd like to discuss the Archer campaign further." Sophia nodded, her heart rate accelerating despite her determination to remain calm. When the room had emptied, Lucas closed the door and turned to face her. "There is no further discussion needed about the Archer campaign," Sophia said before he could speak. "You wanted to talk to me privately. Why?" "You've been avoiding me," he said simply. "As agreed. Minimal interaction, professional boundaries." "Yes. But there are things we need to discuss that go beyond professional boundaries." Lucas ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Sophia's chest ache with unwanted memories. "Things about Ava." The sound of her daughter's name on his lips sent a jolt through Sophia. You don't get to say her name. You don't get to pretend concern for a child you've ignored for 4 years. I haven't ignored her, Lucas countered, his composure slipping for the first time. I've kept my distance because I thought that's what you wanted. What was best for her. What I wanted. Sophia's voice rose despite her effort to control it. You never asked what I wanted, Lucas. You disappeared. You left me alone and pregnant without a word of explanation. And now you want to talk about what's best for our daughter. If you're wondering whether some mistakes are too big to be forgiven, comment below with your thoughts. Should Sophia give Lucas a chance to explain? Or is some betrayal too deep for second chances? You're right. Lucas's admission was quiet but clear. I have no right to talk about what's best for her. But I'm asking you, Sophia. I'm asking for a chance to explain why I left. And then, if you still want me to stay away from both of you, I will. You'll keep your position here with all its benefits, and I'll make sure we never have to interact again. Sophia studied him, searching for the manipulation, the hidden agenda. But all she saw was a man haunted by regret, asking for one chance at redemption. Fine, she said finally. Tonight, after work. Not here. Thank you. The relief in his voice seemed genuine. There's a quiet restaurant a few blocks from here. Neutral territory. Text me the address. I'll meet you at 7. Sophia gathered her notes from the meeting. I need to arrange for my neighbor to watch Ava longer than usual. Of course. Lucas hesitated, then added, I appreciate this, Sophia. More than you know. She left without responding, her mind already racing ahead to the evening's confrontation. After 5 years of questions, she would finally get answers. Whether those answers would heal old wounds or tear them open afresh remained to be seen. The restaurant Lucas had chosen was understated but elegant, the kind of place where privacy was valued and conversations couldn't be overheard. Sophia arrived precisely at 7, dressed in the same outfit she'd worn to work, refusing to give this meeting the importance of a wardrobe change. Lucas was already there, seated at a corner table, a glass of what looked like sparkling water in front of him. He stood as she approached, pulling out her chair with the ingrained courtesy she remembered from their time together. Thank you for coming, he said as they settled across from each other. I'm not here for pleasantries, Lucas. I'm here for the truth. Why did you leave me at the altar? And why have you suddenly decided to reappear in my life after 5 years? Lucas nodded, accepting her directness. Those are fair questions. I'll answer them both, but I need to start further back for it to make sense. I'm listening. He took a deep breath, as if gathering courage. Do you remember when we first met? I told you my parents had died in a car accident when I was in college? Sophia nodded. It had been one of their first deep conversations, sharing the painful parts of their pasts. She had told him about her parents' difficult divorce. He had shared the tragedy of losing both parents at once. That wasn't entirely true, Lucas admitted. My father did die in that accident, but my mother survived. She's been in a care facility ever since with severe brain damage. She can't speak, can't recognize me, can't function independently. Sophia stared at him, processing this revelation. You lied about your mother being dead? Why would you do that? Because the truth was too painful to share. Because I'd spent years pretending she was gone rather than facing the reality of visiting a shell of the woman who raised me. Shame colored his voice. It was easier to say she died with my father than to explain the complicated grief of losing someone who's still physically present. What does this have to do with our wedding day? Sophia asked, still struggling to connect these revelations to his abandonment. 2 days before our wedding, I received a call from the care facility. My mother had shown signs of recognition for the first time in years. She had spoken my name. Lucas's voice cracked slightly. The doctors said it might be temporary, a brief window of lucidity that sometimes happens with brain injuries. They urged me to come immediately. You could have told me, Sophia said, the first tendrils of understanding beginning to form. I would have gone with you. I know that now, but at the time I was overwhelmed. I'd never told you the truth about her. I was ashamed of my lie, ashamed of how I'd handled her condition all those years. I told myself I would just go see her quickly and be back in time for the rehearsal dinner. But you weren't. No. When I arrived, she recognized me. Really recognized me, Sophia. She asked about my life, about what I'd been doing all these years. The doctors were amazed. They called it a miracle recovery, said they'd never seen anything like it. Lucas paused, visibly struggling with the memory. For 3 days I had my mother back. We talked about everything. My childhood, my father, my hopes for the future. I told her about you, about our wedding. She was so happy for me, so excited to meet you. Lucas's eyes held a distant pain. And then, on what should have been our wedding day, she had a massive stroke. The doctor said she might not survive the night. Sophia felt her anger wavering, unwanted empathy seeping in. So you chose to stay with her? Yes. I couldn't leave her. Not when I just found her again. Not when she might be dying. But I handled it all wrong. Lucas met her gaze directly. I panicked. I called James and asked him to tell you something had come up, that I couldn't make it. I didn't specify what to say because I couldn't bring myself to explain the truth about my mother. Even then. So your best man improvised, Sophia said bitterly, remembering James's awkward, fumbling delivery of the message that had shattered her world. He's not coming. He says he's sorry. I never imagined he would deliver it that way with no explanation at all. By the time I realized what had happened, the damage was done. You weren't answering my calls. Your family had closed ranks around you. And my mother was fighting for her life. You could have tried harder, Sophia insisted, though her conviction was weakening. You could have sent someone else to explain something. You're right. I should have. But those first few weeks were a blur of hospital rooms and medical decisions. My mother stabilized but never regained consciousness. I was her only family, her only advocate. And then, when I finally gathered the courage to come see you in person, to explain everything, I was gone, Sophia finished for him. After the wedding disaster, she had fled the city, unable to face the pity and gossip. She had stayed with her cousin in another state until the pregnancy became apparent, then found a small apartment and begun rebuilding her life, determined to raise her child without the man who had abandoned them. Yes, your apartment was empty. Your friends wouldn't tell me where you'd gone. They said you never wanted to hear from me again. Lucas's expression was haunted. I respected that. I thought it was what you wanted. And 3 years ago, when you saw us at the park, why not approach me then? I almost did, Lucas admitted. I watched you with her, saw how happy she was, how well you were doing without me. I told myself it would be selfish to disrupt your lives just to ease my conscience. Sophia absorbed his words, trying to reconcile this version of events with the narrative she'd constructed over 5 years of silence. And your mother? Is she still? She passed away last year, Lucas said quietly. She never regained consciousness after that second stroke. I spent 5 years visiting her every week, talking to her, hoping for another miracle that never came. I'm sorry for your loss, Sophia said automatically, the social nicety feeling strange in the context of their conversation. Thank you. Lucas hesitated, then continued. After she died, I had to reevaluate everything. I'd built Meridian from nothing, achieved the success I'd always wanted, but it felt hollow. I realized I'd spent years running from the biggest mistake of my life instead of trying to make amends. So you tracked me down and offered me a job, Sophia concluded. Without warning, without explanation, without asking if I wanted you back in my life. I was afraid you'd say no if I approached you directly, and I saw how you were struggling financially. A flush of embarrassment colored his face. That sounds manipulative when I say it aloud. I convinced myself I was helping, offering an opportunity you deserved on your own merits. It was manipulative, Sophia confirmed. But I understand why you did it. The admission surprised them both. A silence fell between them, less tense than before but heavy with unresolved emotions. What happens now? Lucas finally asked. It was the question Sophia had been asking herself since discovering Lucas was her new employer. What did happen now? Could she simply accept his explanation and move forward? Could she continue working for him with this new understanding between them? And most importantly, what about Ava? Ava asked about you yesterday, Sophia said, watching his reaction carefully. She wanted to know why she doesn't have a daddy like her friends do. Lucas's expression shifted, hope and fear battling visibly. What did you tell her? The truth, that she has a father who doesn't live with us. That it's complicated. Sophia took a deep breath. She asked if you know about her. If you don't want to see her. Sophia, Lucas's voice broke. He cleared his throat and tried again. I would give anything for the chance to know her, but only if you think it's right. Only if it won't confuse or hurt her. I don't know what's right anymore, Sophia admitted. For 5 years, I've believed you were a selfish coward who abandoned us without a second thought. Now I don't know what to think. I was a coward, Lucas said firmly. Not for staying with my mother when she needed me, but for how I handled everything else. For not being honest with you from the beginning about her condition. For not finding a better way to explain my absence. For not fighting harder to find you afterward. His accountability was unexpected and disarming. The Lucas she had known had always been quick to justify his actions, to find logical explanations that absolved him of blame. This man before her, owning his mistakes without qualification, was someone new. I need time, Sophia said finally. Time to process all of this. Time to figure out what's best for Ava. Of course. Lucas nodded, disappointment visible but acceptance stronger. Take all the time you need. The job is yours regardless. I meant that. Thank you for telling me the truth, Sophia said, rising from the table. It doesn't erase the past 5 years, but it helps me understand them better. That's all I hoped for, Lucas replied. Understanding, not forgiveness. I haven't earned that yet. As Sophia walked home that night, her mind replayed their conversation, examining Lucas's story from every angle. Could she believe him? The pain in his eyes when he spoke of his mother had seemed genuine. The shame when he admitted his cowardice had felt real. But 5 years of anger and hurt couldn't be erased by one conversation, no matter how revelatory. And introducing Lucas into Ava's life was a decision that couldn't be made lightly or reversed easily. When she arrived home, Mrs. Chun reported that Ava had been asking more questions about her father. She's at that age, the older woman said kindly. All children want to know where they come from, who they belong to. It's natural. I know, Sophia sighed. I just don't know what to tell her anymore. The truth is always best, Mrs. Chun advised. Even when it's complicated. Children understand more than we give them credit for. After Mrs. Chun left, Sophia checked on Ava, finding her daughter sleeping peacefully. Her dark curls spread across the pillow. Her small face so much like Lucas's in repose that it made Sophia's heart ache. How had she never noticed the resemblance before? Or had she simply refused to see it? The next morning, Sophia called in to work, requesting a personal day. She needed space to think, away from Meridian's gleaming offices and Lucas's presence. She took Ava to the park, watching her play with other children, her laughter bright in the morning sunshine. Mommy, push me on the swing, Ava called, her face alight with joy. As Sophia pushed her daughter higher and higher, Ava's delighted squeals filling the air, she made her decision. She would allow Lucas to meet Ava, once, in a controlled setting with clear boundaries established beforehand. She would watch their interaction carefully and decide next steps based on what she observed. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a beginning. That evening, she texted Lucas, Ava and I will be at Riverside Park tomorrow at 10 a.m. by the duck pond. If you want to meet her, be there. No gifts, no grand gestures. Just a simple introduction. His reply came almost instantly. I'll be there. Thank you, Sophia. The next morning dawned clear and mild, perfect park weather. Sophia dressed Ava in her favorite yellow sundress, brushed her curls until they shone, and tried to calm the butterflies in her own stomach. We're going to meet someone special today, she told Ava as they walked to the park. Who? Ava asked, skipping alongside her, always curious. Your father, Sophia said simply, watching her daughter's face carefully. Ava stopped skipping, her eyes widening. My daddy? Really? Yes, really. He wants very much to meet you. Why hasn't he wanted to meet me before? The question was direct, piercing in its innocence. Sophia knelt down to Ava's level, choosing her words with care. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, sweetheart. Big mistakes that hurt other people. Your daddy made some mistakes, and he's been trying to fix them. Part of fixing them is meeting you and telling you how sorry he is that he hasn't been in your life. Is he nice? Ava asked, her primary concern apparently practical rather than emotional. Sophia smiled despite herself. Yes, he's nice. And he's very excited to meet you. Okay, Ava said with the simple acceptance of childhood. Can we feed the ducks too? Absolutely. I brought bread crusts just for that. They reached the duck pond at precisely 10 o'clock. Lucas was already there, sitting on a bench, dressed casually in jeans and a simple button-down shirt rather than his usual impeccable suits. He looked nervous, Sophia realized with surprise. The confident CEO was nowhere to be seen. In his place was just a man about to meet his daughter for the first time. He stood as they approached, his eyes fixed on Ava with an expression of wonder and trepidation. Sophia felt Ava press against her leg, suddenly shy in the face of this momentous meeting. Ava, Sophia said gently, this is Lucas, your father. Lucas knelt down, bringing himself to Ava's eye level just as Sophia had done earlier. Hello, Ava, he said softly. I'm very happy to meet you. Ava studied him with the frank curiosity of childhood. You look like me, she observed. We have the same eyes. Yes, we do, Lucas agreed, his voice thick with emotion. You have my eyes and your mother's smile. It's a perfect combination. Mommy says you made mistakes, Ava announced, causing Sophia to wince at her daughter's directness. Lucas didn't flinch from the accusation. Your mommy is right. I made very big mistakes. I should have been there for you from the beginning, and I wasn't. I'm very sorry about that. Ava considered this. My friend Emma's daddy made mistakes too. He forgot her birthday and she was really sad. But then he brought her a puppy and she forgave him. Lucas glanced at Sophia, a smile tugging at his lips despite the seriousness of the moment. Well, I've missed a lot more than one birthday, and I think a puppy might be a decision for your mom to make. But I'd like a chance to make it up to you in other ways if that's okay. Like how? Ava asked practically. Like getting to know you, learning what you like and don't like. Maybe taking you and your mom to the zoo sometime, or for ice cream, or whatever you enjoy doing. Ava looked up at Sophia. Can we, Mommy? Can we go for ice cream with my daddy? The hope in her daughter's eyes made Sophia's decision for her. Not today but soon, if that's what you want. I want to, Ava declared. Then, with the rapid subject changes typical of 4-year-olds, can we feed the ducks now? Of course, Sophia said, relieved by the shift to simpler territory. She handed Ava the bag of bread crusts, and the three of them walked to the edge of the pond. As Ava threw bread to the eager ducks, Lucas stood beside Sophia, a careful distance between them. Thank you for this, he said quietly. I know it couldn't have been an easy decision. It wasn't, Sophia confirmed. And this doesn't mean I've forgiven you, or that I trust you. This is about Ava, not us. I understand. Lucas watched his daughter, his expression a mixture of joy and regret. She's amazing, Sophia. You've done an incredible job raising her. I had to, Sophia replied simply. She needed one parent who wouldn't let her down. The words were harsh but honest. Lucas accepted them with a nod. I deserve that. But I promise you, Sophia, I won't let her down again. Or you. Promises are easy, Lucas. It's keeping them that matters. I know. And I'll spend however long it takes proving that to both of you. They stood in silence, watching Ava charm the ducks and a few passing children who joined her bread-throwing efforts. Despite her reservations, Sophia couldn't deny the rightness of the moment. Ava deserved to know her father, and Lucas, despite his past failures, deserved a chance to know his daughter. The path forward wouldn't be simple. There would be more difficult conversations, more painful reckonings with the past. Trust, once broken, couldn't be instantly restored. But as Sophia watched Ava take Lucas's hand to lead him closer to the ducks, showing him the proper technique for bread distribution with all the seriousness of a 4-year-old expert, she felt something she hadn't expected. Hope. Not for reconciliation. That bridge had been burned 5 years ago on what should have been their wedding day. But for something new. A different kind of family. A future where Ava would have both parents in her life, even if they weren't together. "Mommy, Daddy, look!" Ava called, the word daddy falling from her lips as naturally as if she'd been saying it all her life. "The baby ducks are following me." Sophia and Lucas exchanged a glance, the significance of the moment not lost on either of them. For the first time in 5 years, they were united in something bigger than their past mistakes and hurts. They were united in their love for the small girl who had called them both by name, claiming them as hers. It was a beginning, not the one they had once planned, standing before an altar with promises of forever, but perhaps a more honest one, built on hard truths and second chances rather than fairy tales and easy promises. As they walked Ava home afterward, Lucas hanging back slightly, respecting the boundaries Sophia had established, she found herself wondering what might come next. Would Lucas become a regular presence in their lives? Would Ava grow to love the father she was just beginning to know? Would Sophia herself ever fully trust the man who had broken her heart so completely? Only time would tell. But for now, for today, they had taken the first step on a new path. And sometimes Sophia reflected, watching Ava skip ahead of them, chattering excitedly about ducks and ice cream and all the things she wanted to show her daddy next time. The first step was the most important one. If you believe in the power of forgiveness and second chances, even when they seem impossible, give this video a like and subscribe to Timeless Love Tales with Mr. Harrison. Remember that sometimes, the most painful chapters of our lives aren't the end of our story. They're just the beginning of a different one than we had planned. In the months that followed, Lucas proved his commitment through consistency rather than grand gestures. He never missed a scheduled visit with Ava. He respected Sophia's boundaries, never pushing for more than she was willing to give. At work, he remained professional, their interactions focused on Meridian's business rather than their personal connection. Slowly, cautiously, Sophia allowed Lucas more time with Ava, supervised visits at first, then occasional outings without her presence. She watched her daughter bloom under her father's attention, developing a bond that grew stronger with each passing week. And somewhere along the way, as summer turned to fall and fall to winter, Sophia found her anger giving way to something else. Not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. The man Lucas had become was not the same one who had left her at the altar 5 years ago. He had been shaped by loss, by regret, by the long process of making amends. One evening in December, after Lucas had brought Ava home from their weekly dinner together, he lingered at the door of Sophia's new apartment, a spacious 2-bedroom in a good neighborhood, made possible by her position at Meridian. "She asked me something interesting tonight," Lucas said, his expression thoughtful. "She wanted to know why, if I'm her daddy and you're her mommy, we don't all live together like her friend Emma's parents do." Sophia felt her heart rate quicken. "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That sometimes parents love their children very much but don't live together because they have a complicated history. That you and I care about each other as Ava's parents, but we're not together in the way Emma's parents are." Sophia nodded, relieved by his measured response. That was a good answer. She seemed to accept it, Lucas said. But then she asked if we were friends. "And what did you say to that?" "I told her I hoped we were becoming friends." Lucas met her gaze directly. Was that wrong? Sophia considered the question. Were they friends? 6 months ago, she would have laughed at the notion. But now, after countless co-parenting conversations, after watching Lucas rebuild his relationship with Ava with patience and humility, after seeing him accept her boundaries without complaint, perhaps friendship wasn't so far-fetched. "No," she said finally. "It wasn't wrong. Relief flickered across Lucas's face. Good. Because I meant it, Sophia. Whatever else has happened between us, I value the relationship we're building now. For Ava's sake, but also for its own sake. I do too, Sophia admitted, surprising herself with the truth of it. Good night, Lucas. Good night, Sophia. As she closed the door behind him, Sophia leaned against it, processing the subtle shift that had occurred. They were friends. Not the easy, uncomplicated friendship of people without history, but something more nuanced. A friendship built on shared love for their daughter, on mutual respect hard-won through months of careful navigation. It wasn't what she had once dreamed of, standing in a wedding dress waiting for a groom who never came. But perhaps it was something equally valuable in its own way. The new year brought changes to Meridian Innovations. The company continued its rapid growth, expanding into new markets and acquiring smaller competitors. Sophia's creative department flourished under her leadership, winning industry awards and attracting top talent. In March, Lucas called Sophia into his office for what she assumed was a routine meeting about an upcoming client presentation. Instead, he surprised her with an unexpected proposal. I'm restructuring the executive team, he explained, sliding a document across his desk. I'd like to promote you to Chief Creative Officer, with a seat on the board. Sophia stared at the offer letter, noting the substantial salary increase and expanded responsibilities. Why? Because you've earned it, Lucas said simply. Your department has outperformed every projection. The Archer campaign alone increased our market share by 12%. This isn't personal, Sophia. It's business. You're the best person for the job. She studied him, searching for hidden motives but finding only professional respect. And the fact that I'm Ava's mother has nothing to do with this offer? If anything, our personal connection would be a reason not to promote you, Lucas pointed out. It could create the appearance of favoritism. But your results speak for themselves. Anyone looking at the numbers would make the same decision. Sophia considered the offer. The promotion would mean more responsibility but also more flexibility to set her own schedule. Valuable time she could spend with Ava. The increased compensation would secure their future even further. And the professional recognition validated years of hard work and sacrifice. I'll accept, she said finally. But I want it clear to everyone that this promotion is based on merit, not personal connection. Already handled, Lucas assured her. The board reviewed your performance independently and unanimously approved the promotion. The announcement goes out tomorrow. As Sophia rose to leave, Lucas added, There's one more thing. The promotion comes with an opportunity to represent Meridian at the International Digital Media Conference in Paris next month. As CCO, you'd be the natural choice to lead our delegation. Paris. Sophia hesitated. She had never been to Europe, had always dreamed of visiting Paris someday. But a week away from Ava seemed impossible. I don't think I can be away from Ava that long. I anticipated that concern, Lucas said carefully. The conference coincides with Ava's spring break. If you're comfortable with the idea, she could accompany you. Meridian would cover all expenses, of course. And who would watch her during conference sessions? I can't exactly bring a 4-year-old to business meetings. I thought perhaps I could go as well, Lucas suggested, his tone deliberately casual. Not to the conference itself, that would be your domain. But I could take care of Ava while you're working, and the three of us could explore Paris together during your free time. The proposal hung between them, loaded with implications. A week in Paris, the three of them together like a family. It was a step beyond their carefully managed co-parenting arrangement, beyond the friendship they had cautiously established. I'll think about it, Sophia said, unwilling to commit on the spot to something that felt so significant. Of course, take all the time you need. That evening, as Sophia tucked Ava into bed, her daughter's sleepy question caught her off guard. Mommy, do you still love Daddy? Sophia froze, the bedtime story forgotten in her hands. Why do you ask that, sweetheart? Because Emma's mommy and Daddy fight sometimes, but they still love each other. You and Daddy don't fight, but you don't hug or kiss like Emma's parents do. Out of the mouths of babes, Sophia thought wryly. Leave it to a 4-year-old to cut straight to the heart of adult complications. It's different for every family, she explained carefully. Your daddy and I care about each other because we both love you so much. But we're not in love the way some mommies and daddies are. Were you ever in love? Ava persisted, fighting sleep to pursue this fascinating adult mystery. Sophia hesitated, then decided on honesty. Yes, we were. A long time ago, before you were born. What happened? That's a story for when you're older, Sophia said gently. Right now, it's time for sleep. Will we ever be like Emma's family? Ava asked, her eyes drifting closed despite her determination to continue the conversation. I don't know, sweetheart, Sophia whispered, stroking her daughter's hair as she succumbed to sleep. I really don't know. The question lingered in Sophia's mind as she considered Lucas's Paris proposal. What were they doing, really? Creating a co-parenting relationship that worked for Ava, certainly. Building a friendship based on mutual respect, yes. But was there something else developing beneath the surface? Something neither of them had acknowledged? The next day, she texted Lucas, about Paris. I think it could work, but we need to be clear about expectations. Can we discuss over dinner tonight? Just the two of us. His reply came quickly. Of course. Name the place and time. They met at a small Italian restaurant they had frequented during their relationship years ago. The choice was deliberate on Sophia's part, neutral ground with just enough history to frame their conversation honestly. Thank you for suggesting dinner, Lucas said as they settled at a corner table. I've been wanting to talk to you about Paris as well. Before we discuss that, Sophia began, I need to ask you something. Why did you really hire me, Lucas? The whole truth this time. Lucas seemed taken aback by the directness of her question, but he didn't evade. Initially, because I saw you were struggling financially, and I wanted to help without simply offering money I knew you wouldn't accept. Because I thought Meridian genuinely needed your talent. And yes, because I wanted a chance to explain, to make amends somehow. And now? Why the promotion? Why Paris? Now it's simpler, Lucas said. You've proven yourself invaluable to Meridian. The promotion is well-deserved. As for Paris, he hesitated. That's more complicated. Try me, Sophia challenged gently. I enjoy the time we spend together with Ava, Lucas admitted. I look forward to our conversations, our text exchanges about her day, even our disagreements about parenting approaches. Somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing our interactions as obligation or atonement and started seeing them as the best part of my day. The honesty in his voice was disarming. Sophia found herself nodding. I felt that shift too. Paris could be an opportunity, Lucas continued carefully. Not to recapture what we had before, I know too much has happened for that, but to explore what might be possible now, as the people we've become. Or it could simply be a wonderful experience for Ava, with her parents working together to give her memories she'll cherish forever. Either way, I think it could be valuable. Sophia considered his words, appreciating the space he left for either possibility. I've been thinking about what Ava asked me last night, she said, sharing their daughter's bedtime questions. Children see things so clearly sometimes, don't they? Cut through all our adult complications. They do, Lucas agreed with a small smile. What did you tell her? The truth. That we care about each other because we both love her. That we were in love once before she was born. That I don't know what the future holds for us as a family. An honest answer, Lucas nodded. And what do you want that future to hold, Sophia? If you could choose. It was the question she'd been asking herself since his Paris proposal. What did she want? The safe distance of co-parents who respected each other but maintained separate lives? The tentative friendship they'd been building? Or something more? Something that acknowledged the lingering connection between them that had never fully disappeared despite years of absence and pain? I want to go to Paris, she said finally. The three of us. I want to see what it feels like to be together in a place with no history, no painful memories. I want to give Ava the experience of traveling with both her parents. And I want to see if what I'm feeling, what I think we're both feeling, is real or just the ghost of what we once had. Relief and hope flickered across Lucas's face. That's what I want too. But, Sophia added, holding up a hand, I need you to understand something. I haven't fully forgiven you yet, Lucas. I'm working on it, but we can't just pick up where we left off 5 years ago. Too much has happened. I'm not the same person, and neither are you. I don't want to pick up where we left off, Lucas said seriously. That relationship was built on incomplete truths and unspoken expectations. I want something better, something honest with all our cards on the table. Something that acknowledges our past but isn't defined by it. His words resonated with what Sophia herself had been feeling. Then we're on the same page. Paris is a beginning, not a conclusion. A chance to explore possibilities without pressure or promises. Agreed. Lucas raised his glass in a small toast. To Paris, to possibilities, and to honesty above all. Sophia clinked her glass against his. To honesty above all. The Paris trip exceeded all expectations. Ava was enchanted by the city of light, her excitement infectious as they explored the Eiffel Tower, cruised the Seine, and discovered hidden carousels in tucked-away parks. Sophia's conference presentations were met with acclaim, establishing Meridian as a global innovator, and her as a thought leader in creative direction. And in the moments between, early mornings sharing coffee while Ava still slept, evenings strolling along the Seine after she'd gone to bed, afternoons watching their daughter feed pigeons in the Tuileries garden, Sophia and Lucas rediscovered each other, not as the young couple they had once been, full of dreams and untested promises, but as the people they had become, resilient, honest, shaped by both success and failure. On their last night in Paris, with Ava asleep in the adjoining room of their suite, they stood on the balcony overlooking the glittering city. I don't want this to end, Lucas admitted quietly. Not just Paris, but this, the three of us together. It doesn't have to, Sophia replied, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. Paris isn't the end of something, Lucas. It's the beginning. What are you saying, exactly? His voice was careful, hopeful, but restrained. I'm saying I'm ready to forgive you, Sophia said, turning to face him fully. Not forget, but forgive. I understand now why you made the choices you did 5 years ago. They still hurt, they still had consequences, but I believe you when you say you've changed. I've seen that change with my own eyes these past months. Sophia, Lucas began, emotion making his voice rough, but she held up a hand. Let me finish. I'm not suggesting we pick up where we left off. I'm suggesting we start something new. Something built on who we are now, not who we were then. Something that puts Ava first but acknowledges that there's still something between us worth exploring. That's exactly what I want, Lucas said, taking her hand gently. A new beginning with eyes wide open. Eyes wide open, Sophia agreed. No more secrets. No more unspoken truths. No more running away when things get difficult, Lucas added. From now on, we face challenges together, honestly. Together, Sophia echoed, the word feeling right in a way she hadn't expected. When Lucas kissed her, it wasn't like their first kiss years ago. Passionate and impulsive. It wasn't like their last kiss before the wedding that never happened. Expectant and familiar. It was something entirely new. Tender but certain, acknowledging their history while embracing their future. A year later, Sophia stood in a small garden, Ava beside her in a flower girl dress, watching Lucas wait for them beneath an arch of roses. This wasn't the lavish wedding they had planned 5 years ago, with hundreds of guests and elaborate traditions. This was intimate, only their closest friends and family present to witness their second chance. Are you ready? Sophia asked Ava, who was practically vibrating with excitement. Yes, Ava beamed, clutching her basket of rose petals. I get to have a mommy and a daddy in the same house now. Sophia laughed, her heart full. Yes, you do, sweetheart. Now go ahead, just like we practiced. As Ava skipped down the aisle, scattering petals with more enthusiasm than precision, Sophia took a deep breath. This moment felt nothing like her first almost wedding. There were no doubts, no unspoken truths between them now. They had earned this second chance through honesty, through forgiveness, through the daily work of rebuilding trust one conversation at a time. When she reached Lucas, he took her hands, his eyes reflecting the journey that had brought them here. From love to loss to unexpected reunion to this new beginning. "No running away this time," he whispered, a promise and a gentle acknowledgement of their past. "No need," Sophia replied. "Everything I want is right here." As they exchanged vows, Sophia reflected on the strange, winding path that had led them to this moment. If someone had told her on that devastating day 5 years ago, standing abandoned in her wedding dress, that she would one day thank Lucas for leaving, she would have thought them cruel or insane. Yet here she was, grateful not for the pain he had caused, but for the growth that pain had triggered in both of them. The Lucas she was marrying today was not the man who had left her at the altar. He was someone stronger, more honest, more compassionate. And she was not the same woman either, no longer defining herself through others' expectations, no longer afraid to demand the truth even when it hurt. They had both needed to break before they could rebuild something stronger. They had both needed to learn hard lessons about honesty, about courage, about what truly mattered. And what mattered most was standing right beside them, beaming up at her parents with unrestrained joy as they sealed their vows with a kiss. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the officiant declared. But Sophia knew the truth was more complex and beautiful than those traditional words could capture. They were already a family, had been building that reality carefully over the past 18 months. Today was simply the formal acknowledgement of what they had already created together. A relationship founded on truth rather than fairy tales, on earned trust rather than blind faith, on the kind of love that chooses to stay even when the path forward is difficult. As they walked back down the aisle together, Ava dancing ahead of them, Sophia caught Lucas's gaze and saw in it the same wonder she felt. How strange and miraculous that her greatest heartbreak had ultimately led to her greatest joy. How unexpected that the man who had once abandoned her would become the man she could trust above all others, precisely because they had faced the worst together and survived. Life rarely gives us the endings we expect. Sometimes it gives us something far more valuable. The chance to write a new story, one that incorporates our scars rather than hiding them, one that transforms our greatest pain into our deepest wisdom. For Sophia, Lucas, and Ava, that new story was just beginning. And this time, they would write it together, with eyes wide open and hearts fully engaged, embracing not the perfect fairy tale they had once imagined, but the beautiful, complicated, authentic reality they had earned. If you believe that true love sometimes requires a second chance, give this video a like and subscribe to Timeless Love Tales with Mr. Harrison. Remember that sometimes the most beautiful love stories aren't the ones that unfold perfectly from the beginning, but those that overcome real obstacles and grow stronger through adversity. I'm Mr. Harrison, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced a second chance at love? Do you believe some mistakes are too big to forgive? Or is redemption always possible with enough time and genuine effort? 5 years after their wedding, Sophia and Lucas celebrated their anniversary by taking Ava to the same park where they had reunited as a family. Now 9 years old, Ava had blossomed into a confident, creative child who had inherited her mother's artistic eye and her father's business acumen, a combination that made her both the joy and occasional challenge of their lives. Do you ever think about how different things might have been? Lucas asked as they watched Ava feeding the ducks, the same activity that had broken the ice during their first tentative family outing years ago. Sometimes, Sophia admitted, if you had shown up that day at the church, if we had married then, if I had told you about the pregnancy right away. So many what-ifs. I used to torture myself with those thoughts, Lucas said, his hand finding hers on the bench between them. All the moments I missed, all the pain I caused. But lately, I've been wondering if we needed that time apart to become the people who could make this work. Sophia considered his words. The people we were then, I'm not sure they were ready for the challenges we've faced together since. They weren't, Lucas agreed. I was still hiding parts of myself, still running from difficult truths. You were still trying to fit yourself into someone else's expectations. We might have loved each other, but we didn't really know each other or ourselves. And now, Sophia turned to face him, still finding joy in the open honesty of his expression. So different from the guarded man she had once known. "Now we see each other clearly," Lucas said simply. "All the flaws, all the strengths, all the complexities. And we choose each other anyway, every day." "Every day," Sophia echoed, leaning in to kiss him briefly. Their moment was interrupted by Ava's return. Her hands empty of bread, but her face full of excitement. "Can we go get ice cream now? You promised." "So I did," Lucas laughed, standing and offering a hand to each of his favorite people. "Ice cream it is." As they walked together, Ava chattering between them about school projects and friend drama and her upcoming dance recital, Sophia reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From the desperate single mother accepting a mysterious job offer to the confident woman who had built both a thriving career and a loving family. From the abandoned bride to the wife who had learned that forgiveness wasn't weakness but strength. Their path hadn't been easy or straightforward. There had been setbacks along the way, moments of doubt, old wounds reopened by careless words, the complex navigation of blending their separate lives into one shared future. But they had faced each challenge with the hard-won wisdom of people who understood that love wasn't just about grand gestures or perfect moments, but about showing up, being honest, and choosing each other even when it was difficult. Especially when it was difficult. "Penny for your thoughts," Lucas said quietly as Ava ran ahead to examine the ice cream flavors displayed in the shop window. "I was just thinking about how life rarely gives us what we expect," Sophia replied. "Sometimes it gives us something better. Better than a perfect fairy tale wedding and happily ever after?" Lucas raised an eyebrow, a smile playing at his lips. "Much better," Sophia confirmed. "It gave us a real love story, with all the mess and pain and joy that comes with actual living. It gave us the chance to earn our happiness rather than just having it handed to us." "When you put it that way," Lucas said, pulling her close for a moment before Ava could notice and make gagging noises at their public display of affection, "I wouldn't change a thing. Neither would Sophia. Not the heartbreak that had forged her strength. Not the years of struggle that had proven her resilience. Not even the shock of discovering her new boss was the man who had abandoned her. Every step of that winding path had led her here, to this moment, to this family, to this love that was stronger precisely because it had been tested and had endured. Some might call it fate or destiny, this unlikely reunion that had given them a second chance. But Sophia knew better. It wasn't some mystical force that had created their happy ending. It was their own choices, their own courage, their own willingness to face difficult truths and do the hard work of rebuilding what had been broken. That was the real miracle. Not that they had found each other again, but that they had become people capable of loving each other better the second time around. "Mom! Dad! Hurry up!" Ava called from the ice cream shop doorway, impatient with their slow progress and adult conversation. "Coming, sweetheart," Sophia called back, exchanging an amused glance with Lucas. As they joined their daughter, stepping from the warm spring sunshine into the cool interior of the ice cream parlor, Sophia felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over her. Not just for the big moments, the reconciliation, the wedding, the career success, but for these small, ordinary moments of family life that had once seemed impossibly out of reach. This, she realized, was the true happy ending. Not a perfect conclusion to their story, but the ongoing, everyday joy of writing it together, one page at a time, with eyes wide open and hearts fully engaged. And really, what could be more magical than that? If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to Timeless Love Tales with Mr. Harrison for more stories of love, redemption, and second chances. Remember that sometimes the most beautiful chapters of our lives come after the pages we thought had ended our story. Until next time, I'm Mr. Harrison, reminding you that true love isn't about finding perfection. It's about seeing someone completely, flaws and all, and choosing them anyway.